In your 1997 mayoral campaign, you talked about the need for creative change. Now you say you don't want creative change. Why?
Because we've had an inspiring leader for the past 10 years who's built a strong team on council, and we've accomplished much together.
Who will be funding the installation of sewage services in Sharon? Will the current homeowners be forced to hook up and pay for this?
I guess I'll divide it in half because that's exactly what's going to happen. The Upper York system that will be coming up Leslie Street will be looking after our new development in the northern part of Sharon, and we will have an opportunity at a much later date to take a look at hooking up houses. Whether it's mandated that they must, at this time hasn't been decided. The other part of Sharon is the new development that's coming in, and that's the York Region, York-Durham sewer system, and it's going to be coming up the second concession with a spur that will be running from Rogers Reservoir over to Sharon to service the new area that is proposed, and then continue north to Mount Albert Road and across Mount Albert and across Olive Street and serve a good portion of the west side of Holland Landing. So there's two different systems that are going in place.
The big pipe will not result in any, it'll be all for new development. It won't be forcing residents who are currently on town water and septic systems to go on full services.
One thing you may have noticed over the past 3 years is your water bills have increased by about 9 to 10% each year. Some of this money is going towards the pipe, as well as a lot of it is being absorbed in new development costs. There is a proportion that have been raised by the region, and it will be going towards the water and sewer systems coming up into our town.
Your water and sewer costs are not going to pay for the big pipe. The big pipe is being paid for by the development industry. In fact, it was passed this week. It's about $112 million that they are paying to bring the sewers into East Gwillimbury. Part of the problem is that we have not had sewage allocation in the past for them to develop, and that's why we sit here with a Queensville plan that's 20 some odd years old. It was all decided the shovel was going to be in the ground many years ago, and there's no sewer, so it can't move forward. So this is the water and sewer rates that have increased. It is in line with the region. And
Virginia's correct, Matthew. It's as a result of legislation based on the recommendations that came out of the Walkerton inquiry that we are told that we have to test water, we have to do a whole variety of things that we didn't do in past to ensure that water is clean. So it was legislation passed down to us by the province, and we have to adhere to that legislation. We have to hire experts that have specific skills. So we've done that. It's a user pay system. Fortunately, we've had to pass that along, but isn't it nice to know that you have safe water at an affordable cost? Thank you.
Directed to the 2006-2010 council members, so that's Marlene, Kathy, Jack, and Virginia, and any other council members who would like to respond. As a member of council, did you approve including the current Bradford bypass right-of-way in the town's transportation master plan subdivision to York Region, and if so, why? Secondly, did you approve a plaque that gives the wrong location of the military naval depot mentioned in my 2006 submission to the town? Thirdly, what are you going to do about it if elected?
We haven't approved the Bradford bypass in our official plan. What we have done is shown the Ontario government preferred route. We have to show that. We're on record as a council as suggesting that it be in another location, that it be further north, that it either be an extension of Ravenshoe Road or that it be, as I say, in another location. But we have to show in our official plan where the preferred route from the Ontario government is. So we've done that. With respect to the wrong location, well, there are two schools of thought. And the one that we approved the other day was from Heritage Ontario. They came forward with a proper plaque trying to show where they believe it is. I'm certainly willing to sit down with you, Willard, and discuss your point of view and see if it has merit as well. I think that we should recognize as much as we can. There's very little historical evidence out there, but I think we should explore it all.
On the location of the 404, yes, I voted for the 404 to be constructed at some time in the future. I am in favor of that process. I am not in favor of the route, and I have made that clear. And I agree with what Councillor Hosman has said, that we have not approved the route, but we were asked to show it in no uncertain terms in a certain way on our official plan. So the route is not finalized yet, and we're on record opposing the route.
I've had an opportunity to spend a lot of time looking at Willard's information, and it's very intriguing. I'm not an expert on historic. We take a look at the Ontario Heritage Trust, they're the experts in the province, but I would like to take a look at his information because I think it goes beyond what was plaqued this past week. I think there's some very interesting documentation that he has, and I think we need to look at it very seriously.
John Rush, the question is, what are your thoughts on a paid fire department?
At present time, I'm not sure if everybody knows about the structure of our fire department, but we have 2 full-time people in Queensville, 8 to 4:30, Monday to Friday. Holidays, they're not there.
Yes.
We do have 2 people in the landing that are full-time, but one is a fire prevention officer. He could be at a meeting anywhere in the region. And the other is a training officer. He could be somewhere else as well. So that makes it very thin. The weekends, like I said in my speech, are a real problem. This past summer, we had a nice summer, and a lot of my guys have cottages. A lot of them go there for the weekend. We have nothing to make them stay, nothing to remain where they are. So, I mean, they have to go. Now, I did take a couple of expense things off. The Municipal Performance Measurements Program, it's something that's put out by the province that every municipality has to do, and it's a rating. This is the latest one, it's 2008, so the province is always 2 years out of date. Yeah, they always are. Right now, where in 2008, we were spending 42 cents per $1,000 of property assessment for the fire department. In essence, a $300,000 house, $120 of your taxes goes to the fire department. Just to get a label on that, King is spending around $65. Georgina is spending $1.16. So that's quite a bit more than what we spend. So even with these figures, they would be a lot lower, because if you take into account the Harvest Hill subdivision that we've added since 2008 and the expansion in Mount Albert, that would lower the assessment as well. So I would think probably this year our expenses would probably be about 30 cents per thousand of assessment. So it's doable, and other people in the region have been doing it. Thank you.
I think we have a wonderful volunteer fire department. They do an amazing job. In fact, I believe in some cases they are better trained than the full-time fellows, because they're doing it every week they're in, and they do a fabulous job. There's obviously going to be a time when we're going to need to look at full-time fire. I don't believe we need it yet. I think we need to look at it. We need to be prepared, but we can't afford it yet either. Stepping into a full-time fire department is huge dollars. And I think if we can support our volunteers for another few years until we get our growth in, we're going to need it then, and we'll be able to afford it then.
As current chair of emergency services, each of us on council rotate the chairmanship so that we all get an opportunity to try different things. And right now, that's my task. I do believe that at some point in the future, we will need to go to a full-time fire department, and that's where you need to be, and that's a huge cost. And if you're over here right now and you aren't there yet, the way to get there is to plan the ramp up. And if your plan has to move forward because you still don't have the money or you still don't have the growth, that's fine. But you still need a plan to ramp up, and our finance department is working on the preliminary stages of that right now so that we can begin to set aside some money. And we've already done a little bit of advanced planning, and that way it doesn't cost the taxpayers when you go along and you go directly like that. It's a matter of ramping up, and right now we're in the planning stages on how to ramp up.
what will you do to help the underserviced areas get high-speed internet?
Recently, through some funding that we were able to get, we did what is called a gap analysis, where a consultant went around and outlined the areas that have current high-speed internet and those that don't. The people here in the audience that don't have it, they already know that. One of the challenges that is faced by the incumbent people that provide it, being Rogers or Bell, is a business case. They aren't willing to put high-speed internet into areas where they cannot turn some kind of a profit. Our feeling is that as the community grows and there is more residential growth, then they will begin to start putting in these high-speed internet opportunities. Some other companies like ExploreNet and a few others do provide the service. The problem with that is it's kind of line of sight, and if you're in a hole with a lot of trees, then you're kind of SOL on that one. So it's something the town is very aware of. The Business Development Committee is aware of it, and I mentioned it in my opening speech. For the future growth of business and everything else in the communities, this will become a top priority when we're working with developers and when we get an economic development officer.
I was talking to a gentleman from ExploreNet, and he said that this issue is going to be dead in a few years anyway. They're going to be putting a satellite out to look after all the gaps and all the hollows. So just wait for it. It's going to happen. That's what he told me anyway. Thank you.